which is Sturgeon's writing. This is where I was getting to. The air is so thin, I can hardly breathe. And I'm going, what a great way to foreshadow what's going to happen. I go, what a great, and he also tells him, kun ut kal ifi. Kirk is explaining to Dr. McCoy, it means marriage or challenge. So not only do they tell us right when they're on Vulcan, it's hot, I can hardly breathe, I wish there was more air. I mean, Kirk is saying all this stuff. And then he's saying kun ut kal ifi means marriage or challenge. Theodore Sturgeon told us all we needed to know in about 5 lines of dialogue. And I'm going, wow, this was amazing writing. And that's where I was telling you where my writing teacher at one time says, just say it in a way that doesn't kind of hit people in the face, right? He told us all we needed to know right there.
Oh, absolutely fabulous. I like that you pointed out, you said foreshadowing. Even though I watched it all this time, even though I've seen it a ton of times, I never consciously thought about that. Now that you pointed it out, I think that's great. Absolutely fabulous. That yes, they're talking about the thin air and something is going to happen. And I have glossed over it. I'm always wrapped up in the episode. I'm just always watching it. Never noticed that. That's good.
Yeah.
Unbelievable episode. This is a mutual admiration society, I know, for this episode, but come on, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm paraphrasing. I didn't exactly copy the lines, but he says, I wish the breeze were cooler and the atmosphere is thinner than on Earth. So he says them both. I wish the breeze was cooler. This is Captain Kirk talking. So he says something about him being, I thought you said you were married. And he goes, and this is where I was kind of having trouble on the Enterprise, where he says, she's my wife or my bride or whatever he says, my wife, I think. And then he goes, by our parents' arrangement, a ceremony when we were 7. So they kind of bonded them. And then he kind of explains, we have to come to this place now because it was already kind of set for us. And more than just being 2 people put together, it was a ceremony that actually kind of fused them together in a way when they were 7, to where they're already set on this course. They have no choice. This is where they have to end up.
Yes, kind of like salmon. Less than a marriage, but more than a betrothal. One touches the other in order to feel each other's thoughts. In this way, our minds are locked together so that at the proper time, we would both be drawn to Kunut Khalifi.
Yep. Enter the wedding party.
Yes. What about?
So Captain Kirk is like really impressed with Spock at this point, which he didn't know how great his family was, how important. I didn't know his family was this important. There's T'Pau and all of Vulcan and one woman.
Wait. Hold on. Let's get that line. Besides, you know who that is? T'Pau, the only person to have ever turned down a seat in the Federation Council. Doesn't he say all of Vulcan in one package or something?
Yes, he does.
Yes, Kirk says, I disregarded Starfleet orders to bring him here. Another thing, that's T'Pau of Vulcan. All of Vulcan in one package. How can I back out in front of her? It is done.
All of Vulcan in one package. What a great line. I don't think I didn't like anything that Theodore Sturgeon wrote in this episode. I mean, he has one fantastic line after another. He built a story so well. I'm just wondering now, and I didn't think about this before, and I'm wondering if Theodore Sturgeon already had a lot of this written in the ideas and he just kind of put them together for this episode. But however it turned out, it was brilliant. But she goes, are you human or are the Vulcan? And I just love the way she's kind of, that is the Vulcan attitude, right? She's just like, she's chastising Spock because, he's kind of acting like a little baby, I guess, in her mind. She's so set on the rituals and traditions of Vulcan. And she's just like, look, man, let's get it together. And she does that very solidly throughout her character in this whole episode. And she doesn't have that many lines, but she does it so consistently. And then she goes, the something about the Outworlders, and she's having a little huff because they shouldn't be there. And he's going, they're my friends. I can have them here. And this is such great character development for her. How do you pledge their behavior?
There's 706 lines in this episode, and 69 are T'Pau.
69.
Yeah.
She's great. I put the Vulcan heart and soul, but I think that's T'Pau.
She had that line that said, what they are about to see comes down from the time of the beginning, without change. This is the Vulcan heart. This is the Vulcan soul. This is our way. Khalifar. Yeah.
So Khalifar means to begin, or whatever it means. Then T'Pring goes, Khalifi. So she stops the whole thing, right? They're going to go forward.
Yeah.
Mr. Spock's going to have his little rendezvous, his little fish spawning session. It doesn't happen. She says, nope, this ain't happening. Khalifi, she's stopping Spock from hitting his gong again. And then T'Pau goes, he's deep in the plateau. So the writing is that Spock can't explain to Captain Kirk what's happening or what he's getting himself into. They stop Spock from being able to explain what's going on at this moment. I thought it was a really nice way to do it, right? It's, usually you'll have someone trapped on the Enterprise so they can't communicate in some way, or trapped on the planet surface. This way, he's deep in the plateau. He's not going to talk to you until it's over. And that's what T'Pau says. Look, he can't talk to you anymore. He's done. He's got to get his thing done, and then he's okay again. He knows that Kirk doesn't know what he's getting himself into, and he's begging T'Pau to stop the whole thing. And she's like, "This is our way, man. Yeah." He said it's okay. It's okay. But what Kirk doesn't know, of course, and we do now, is it's a fight to the death. He has no idea.
T'Pau is blindly ignoring what any sane person would understand. He's trying to spit out that Kirk doesn't get it. And she's like, it's all tradition. Shut up. Right?
It's been happening millions of times. But this goes to something I loved about this too. I just love this because what is the winner of this, right? I could argue both ways probably, but I'm going to argue one way. So the winner, right? The winner of this thing gets T'Pring. She is the prize at the end of this session. Is T'Pring. And I go, wow, what a way. I know I'm just kind of bragging on this episode like I wrote it. No, I'm not. I just think it was brilliant. But the trade-off, right? Someone has to give their life because they're going to be taking her life. And I go, wow, that's a real trade-off there. That's a real choice to make. Are you going to give up your life to gain this? And you really are, right? Because she has to give up her life to whoever it is that's going to be taking her. So it's a fair trade, I thought. I think that's a fair trade to say, no, I want you to fight to your death because I'm at the end of this thing, and whoever's going to be alive is going to get me, and I have to give up my life for them then. So I thought it was a fair trade. And I'm going to wait for your comment on that.
Flawlessly logical.
I think don't you think it's a fair trade? I mean, and honestly, I was just listening to something a few days ago about slavery. And one thing you cannot do now is you cannot take someone's life well, murder is wrong, but we're not talking about murder. I'm talking about for slavery. You cannot have someone indebted to you, indentured to you, and use them as a slave. It's just, you can't do that anymore. It's out of the laws where it used to be part of our laws, right? So if you look at it as slavery, you're taking something, and honestly, T'Pring is going to be someone's, maybe not their slave, but their consort, like she was saying, for the rest of her life. And so anyway, I just like that there's that you have to give up something to get something, or you have to be willing then to sacrifice yourself or something to get what you want. And I thought that's a fair trade. So Captain Kirk kind of asked the questions. Dr. McCoy to Pal, she's like, you may leave now, you can go, but and he goes, no, we'll stay. And she goes, well, Spock chose his friends well. So she's even capitulating to them being there and the honor that they're showing Spock by not just going, because she's saying that she wants Kirk to fight for her, right? So it's going to be Kirk or Spock. So I love their discussion though, where McCoy and Kirk are talking. Do you think he could take him? And Kirk's trying to take care of Spock, and he's going, I don't think Spock can take in this capacity. And so Kirk's going, well, I'll just kind of have it out with him, and we'll be okay, and everything will move on, and yeah, we'll take care of it. McCoy's saying that's not a good idea, Captain, because he knows that Captain Kirk is not going to beat Spock. So Stan, yeah, he knows that he's not going to be Stan, but he knows that he could really take Captain Kirk. So it's kind of a cool.
Kirk is still assuming that everything will be okay, and is not focused on the fact that T'Pau is all about the ritual. Even if Kirk thought he could weasel his way out of it, it ain't going to happen. There are probably a million laws on how stuff has to go in order, and he's just going, yeah, it'll turn out.
And Vulcans, they live longer, right? Aren't they supposed to live a lot longer than humans?
Yes.
Well, how much longer do they live than humans? Approximately.
Let's go see, because I think we found out about his father. So Vulcan, average age, have a lifespan of 200 years or more.
Okay, so she's already kind of getting close to the end, right? So she's been 200 years and she was someone's consort before. She's been through it as a little young girl. She's been through the whole thing, and it's just tradition, man. And that's where she's at with it. I like Stan. Stan, when she's picking Kirk to fight for her, and Stan's going, no, I am to be the one. I claim the right. And T'Pau basically tells him without telling him, shut the hell up. She gets her guards out. She says, and I apologize. I'm out of line.
Life expectancy, 210 years.
Oh, 210 years? Oh, there you go. So at least double, more than double the life expectancy of a human. So the way Spock comes on out of it, right? He's deep in his Spock Tau, and he still comes out and goes, he does not understand, stop this right now. You gotta, just let him out of this thing. And she's like, I put T'Pau as a tiger, man. She's tied to the old ways and her tradition. And she tells Kirk to keep his place, right? Keep thy place. She either tells McCoy or Kirk, keep thy place.
How come I don't see this in your notes? What page are you on?
I took a lot of notes, didn't I?
I only see one page.
No, 6 pages. I'm on page 4 of 6. And the reason I said tradition and quotation, because I did Fiddler on the Roof, and it was all about tradition. It's all about tradition, and I just kind of got that feeling with T'Pau that she's all about tradition.
Tied to the old ways. Keep thy place.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I think that she's talking to Captain Kirk and McCoy. I think it's McCoy that's kind of wanting to get out of it, and she's like, keep thy place, stop. Just stop it, right? She is so in control.
What happens if I decline? Another champion will be selected. Do not interfere, Kirk. Keep thy place.
If in this climate, if the heat doesn't get you, the thin air will, again, they refer back to that. Like, you don't have a chance. But I love the way they cut to him, and I don't think I referred to this. They cut to him when T'Pau is talking to Spock, and the whole thing is starting to go on. If you look, I think it was brilliant. If you look at McCoy and Kirk, they're both sweating, and everyone else looks really great. They're just like, and these two guys are just dying out there, like, and nothing's happened yet.
Yes, happened. Right. Good observation. Yes, brilliant. Do they get the spray bottle of glycerin or something and spray their faces so they're just drenched?
Probably. I just thought it was great. I mean, it was just great. Okay, so he accepts a challenge. The Lirpa with the blade, and Captain Kirk's looking at it. He's going, crap. He's going, what did I get myself into? And then I love the way, if we go back to Galaxy Quest, his shirt's cut open right away. It's
well,
little bit of
classic, exactly. But this is a financial episode because it's all about the combat is to the death.
There you go. I said I think it's an equitable trade. Her life for someone else's. I mean, yeah. I honestly think it was equitable. It's like, she's going to give it up. And so someone's got to give up something. Let no one interfere. That's T'Pau, I think. The Kirk versus Spock. You could totally tell the stunt double. So I don't know if I ever noticed them before, but I think watching it closely, those stunt and Mr. Spock's stunt double, he's twice as big as Spock is. I'm going, holy crap! They should have found someone more wily, than this guy. But he's this big old buff kind of guy. And then you got the broken gong, which I thought was kind of cool. The Lurpe, Croca. So the Vulcan language, I just love the way Theodore Sturgeon or whoever thought of the Vulcan language. I just thought, wow, because the Lord of the Rings and stuff, I should have looked up his name, and I didn't think about it until here. But he developed the whole Elvish language. He developed all the languages from the whole series that he wrote on the Lord of the Rings and stuff. And I just think this is classic when you're thinking of a language, and he did a great language too.
I have a Vulcan encyclopedia, right? No, dictionary. Mark Ochran, American linguist. His professional work is Native American language. He is well known for the creator of the Klingon language. Oh, I got that mixed up. So let's look and see if he has anything to do with Vulcan. His first work was in dubbing the Vulcan language dialogue for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. He was later hired to use the use of the Romulan and Vulcan languages in the Star Trek film in 2009. Wow. Never mind, we're talking Vulcans. Sorry.
That's okay. So then T'Pau, I put a tiger with a heart because little McCoy comes up to her, when she stops. I don't know why she goes kraka to stop the fight. I'm not sure why she stops the fight right there. I don't understand why she did that, but for whatever reason, kraka, she stops it for a minute, and little Dr. McCoy walks up to her and goes, yeah, can I give him let's compensate for this. And so she, instead of saying, that could be something with steroids or something, right? It can make him 6 times as strong as what he is. I don't think so. She goes, okay. She capitulates to Dr. McCoy right away.
She is so old-fashioned and not knowledgeable, apparently, about what science can do. And she's okay with it.
She's okay with it. Yeah.
He buys his explanation. Now, it could be that they proved themselves so much, and she did say Spock's got good friends, that she completely flip-flopped and really actually trusts these people. A equals B, therefore A
plus B equals C.
Yeah. Thank you, Francis. If Spock says they're okay, I am completely okay with them. And if they say that it's just triox compound, okay, whatever.
Okay.
Shouldn't she be saying, no, nobody else needs anything? That's your problem for coming down on this planet and not exercising.
Exactly. You should have thought a little bit further before you said yes, right? But no, she goes, go ahead.
I hate when they visit planets and the indigenous population blindly assumes that when you're going to void some of their laws or break one of their laws. And here okay. So I think that's fair. I think it was nice.
I think it was nice. I mean, he's Spock's still up, and I think he's still pretty active, and Kirk's on his knees on the ground, and he's like, okay, yeah, give him something, because the poor guy's gonna let's make this fight last a little longer, because it's not going very well right now. So I put here, and I think it's absolutely true, which I really just love the whole thing, but Kirk, he had no chance. He had no chance against Spock. I mean, Spock lived there for who knows how many years. He had the home field advantage. I mean, he had everything that someone needed to live on Vulcan, even though he'd been away for a while. Still acclimated. His body still adapts to it. Whereas Kirk, he'd never been there, couldn't adapt to it. So he's basically done. And I said, Kirk, a beating he won't forget, because I think that's true. He's just like, I'll never forget this. Spock picks Kirk up by the neck. I mean, that's just kind of, Kirk's laying on the ground. Usually he would just let him lay on the ground, right? But he just picks him up with that thing. And I'm like, camera showed Spock picking him up, because I go, why did he, I thought at the first it was kind of a camera shot or a blocking thing, but he really does pick him up. I mean, the stunt people do, but he picks him up by that whatever that thing's called. And then of course he's dead. And then Spock kind of comes back. It's like someone slapped him in the face, and right away Spock is back to his normal self, right? Right after he thinks that he killed Captain Kirk, if you look at the next shot, he's kind of back to Spock prior to the plateau and the whole thing. So then Spock capitulates. He's like, you know what? Dr. McCoy says, Mr. Spock, you're in command now. He wants to get back to the thing, and then he asked T'Pring why the challenge, and I just love the whole thing.
Yes.
Ston wanted me, I wanted him. And I put Ston and T'Pring, they're acting on emotions, but with a logical explanation, because I think that's what they were doing. It's all emotional, even though Vulcans kind of stuff their emotions, they're still acting on emotion, but they have their logical. Spock says, I see no logic in preferring Ston over me. I just love that. It's like, what's wrong with you?
It's not that they don't have emotions, they're under control.
You can tell they're not under control for Ston and T'Pring, though. They're kind of like, otherwise she would just kind of win with tradition, right? Like T'Pau did. She would have totally taken Spock as her husband, and there would have been no question. But T'Pring, she's acting on a different level, I think.
She says, I wanted him. I see no logic in preferring Ston over me. It's just so good.
Is that a great line? I could only divorce you by Kalafi. And that's what she's telling. And then she goes through her whole logic thing, like, well, I didn't want a legend, you're a legend. If Captain Kirk would have died, then you would have been gone anyway, and I still had Ston. If you would have won, you wouldn't have wanted me anyway. I would have had your possessions, but you'd have still been gone. So she had really thought it. The way he goes, I don't know if he said flawlessly logical or something like that, but she said, I'm honored. So she still respects Spock and what he thinks of her and everything else. I think there was so much respect written into this episode. Just everyone respects everything. They respect T'Pring, they respect T'Pau, they respect Spock, Kirk, McCoy. Everybody it was a love fest, really, is what it was.
And it's a love fest here too for the episode.
And it is. And it's Ston. I love she's going, Ston, she is yours. You may find that having is not so pleasing a thing as wanting. It is not logical, but it is often true. So he's like, take her, she's yours. Yeah, you may not be so happy in a couple of years, but you'll be happy for a while.
Classic lines. More classic lines have never been spoken. Lots of classic stuff in this episode, and that you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting is another one right there.
And then she's telling him to live long and prosper, and I shall do neither. I have killed my captain and my friend. Yeah. He's kind of forlorn. A great shot of Vulcan on the remastered version. I don't know what version you were watching, the original, but I don't know what shot you have or the matte painting that you have, but I think really on the remastered, that's a great shot when they're pulling away from Vulcan, just the whole thing where they had the whole ceremony and all of that. It was a really, really good shot.
The city that we see in the remastered version is obviously a CGI, a creation that duplicates, emulates what we see in the fourth season and the animated episodes, when they go to Vulcan and they show us Spock as a kid going through the rituals he has to go through, and the animated episode has a city that looks like that.
Oh, cool. I'm not gonna do that now. Maybe later. We've already got our hands full with this, but But
But
I'll look.
if you like this episode, you may want to watch the prequel episode, animated episode.
And then he goes back to the ship because he's kind of, says his goodbyes on Vulcan, goes back to the ship. He's kind of wanting to go and turn himself in to the nearest starbase. And
yes,
then he's saying, hey, and then they go, well, you might want to ask the captain. He turns around, Jim. So he's full of emotion. And then he tries to bring it back to a logical spot with Dr. McCoy. And then they have their little banter. And I kind of like their banter this time, right?
You can't tell me that when you first saw Jim alive, that you weren't on the verge of giving us an emotional scene that would have brought the house down. Merely my quite logical relief that Starfleet had not lost a highly proficient captain.
In a pig's eye. I did have a little bit of trouble, like Starfleet says, hey, it's okay. And he's going, hey, how about to Pow? She's really got it, And it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, the first question I always have is, our captain is dead on Vulcan? Someone's got to write a lot of reports for that, because she would have not known that they had deviated to go see her. So if the pal is telling him, she thinks Captain Kirk's dead. So the whole report, that was someone else's writing. I think it could have been done a lot better, or left off altogether. And we would have been left wondering how they patched it up. But honestly, if she's talking to Starfleet saying, oh, they diverted because of whatever reason, then the report would be Captain Kirk is dead, because she didn't know and no one knew. And I don't know how they explained to her how he didn't die. We just tricked you. And they're going, maybe they're going, yee. I don't know. But that little twist in the ending, I didn't like too much. But all of the rest of the episode, excellent episode. I think it was well written, well done, well acted, well blocked. Well directed.
It was another point at the end of the episode of how powerful Pow is. They couldn't turn her down.
Yeah, but she still thought he was dead. I mean, she would say, you're going back to Starbase with a guy that's going to be thrown in jail because he killed the captain. I mean, how's she going to get away with that? I mean, that's a big mouthful. And
she is all of Vulcan in one package.
All is forgiven. Okay, all right.
She'll pull in some favors, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so she pulled her favor. She got it in. Spock's off the hook. Excellent. I love this episode. So,
I couldn't tell that you really liked it at all. It's kind of wishy-washy. I was kind of on the fence.
You kind of trying to figure out where I was at with it.
Yeah, right. And so now it comes down to where you're going to have to give it a Doug score. No, wait. Kevin score. And are you going with the new second season rating system? Are you stretching this out over one?
Yeah, I'll do that. And I think I really liked it a lot. So I'm going to definitely give it a 98. I love this episode. I thought, wow, what a great episode. So definitely it's up there right at the top. It's right there at the 98, I'd say.
I had a lot of fun watching it again. I don't think it grows old. I don't know how that works. And I think there's some other episodes that I can lump together with this, but I thought while I was thinking about a score, I was thinking it was very easy for me to say, he gets a 95, which would push it way up there because, I'm a 80, 90. So after recalculating all of the scores, maybe there's something else that's closer, but I'm going to give it a 90.